Folks, I've been doing this for a long time, but what went down this week? It makes zero sense. While Donald Trump was sitting courtside at the Knicks game on Monday night, apparently caught on camera taking a nap, Iran was launching an attack on a U.S. Army Apache helicopter right over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Trump says he's the one calling all the shots, but Netanyahu just blew that narrative wide open by striking Lebanon without telling Washington, making the White House look completely out of the loop. So who's actually driving us towards World War III? To cut through the noise, we are bringing back a man who literally predicted this entire chaos on this very show. He is a 35-year global security veteran, retired Navy senior chief, and author of Thinker, Sailor, Black Man, Spy, also the host of the very excellent Substack show, Black Man Spy. The brilliant, the always clear-eyed Malcolm Nance is back. So we've got some heavy stuff to cover, and I hope you're ready to get into it because I am. Let's get defiant. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my friend and expert, the guy that makes me feel smarter every time I speak to him, Malcolm Nance.
You know, I think it's incredible that your great run-up. You're a pirate, an Indian chief. You did all the cool things that I wanted to do as a child. The only thing I didn't see you was dressed up as a sailor from the Village People.
Oh, okay. I'll work that into one of my upcoming shows.
I need levity right now because things are really, really bad. So, what can I do for you,
so,
BDD?
Well, first things first, right? If anybody ever told you they don't like to say "I told you so," they're full of shit. Okay, because everybody secretly loves to say "I told you so," and I say that because. When you were last here in March, you explicitly told me that our leadership was looking at a global campaign out of a Tom Clancy playbook instead of actual intelligence. And now a U.S. Apache helicopter gets downed and we launch retaliatory strikes and a fragile 2 months ceasefire evaporated overnight. I just want to briefly play your clip in which you predicted that this thing was going to go on way past just a month.
Do is blow up the buildings and blow up the weapon systems. But the 93 million people still exist.
Right.
The government won't collapse. They were trying to get not regime change, but regime collapse by now bombing IRGC offices and things like that. So long as those guys have dates, tea, and a bed to sleep in at their own home, the regime is not going anywhere.
So what's in your opinion, what is the worst case scenario if we are down in Iran for more than a month? What is the end result of our dipping our toes into Iran?
You know, today I wrote a Substack. If you guys will go to malcolmnance.substack.com called 1001 Arabian Nightmares. And in it, I list out 4 scenarios that could happen in the next 30 days that could change the entire history of the world, or at least certainly in that region. And so this war will go on for months.
You were right, spot on. How much longer than months? Is it just months, right? What are we talking about here? Or is it 2 or 3 days?
Wait, how much longer we're going to go on now?
Yeah.
Months. This war is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Look, we're on day 100 by my count, day 104, day 106 is how long ago I started my program. And I made that prediction in March, which was in the middle of the war, it was very clear to me that what had happened with the Trump regime is that they have no concern, consideration, or care for the people, the culture, the history, or the religion of the opponents that we're fighting. None.
hmm
And what that does, excuse me, what that does is it blinds them to what I had said before. The fact that these people, they went through a 10-year war, the Iran-Iraq war, lost almost 1 million men, and we're sending 10-year-olds out into minefields with just a key to heaven around their neck and the headband that says, Hussein says that I have permission to enter heaven. And they had also a war of the cities where Iraq was bombarding Tehran with Scud ballistic missiles, and they were bombarding Baghdad with Scud ballistic missiles. And that went on for almost 10 years. Ship attacks, merchant ships being set afire, Karg Island was practically razed to the ground. Yeah, they got through that. And what makes us think that by going there and bombing them, that's going to break their will? It's mind-boggling, and this shows the utter ignorance, lack of knowledge, the just this just plain abject stupidity of the decision makers in the White House, starting with Pete Hegseth. Everyone below Pete Hegseth has read all their history books, has studied all the intelligence studies, but they are under civilian control. And
Yeah.
that civilian is Pete Hegseth, right? Marco Rubio, who is the National Security Advisor / Secretary of State, and Donald J. Trump. And really, all of the decisions are Hitler-esque in the sense that Trump is not the final decision maker. He's making the decisions on
hmm
how the war will be fought on the basis of his extensive military experience running away and hanging out with hookers and claiming venereal disease was combat enough for him to earn a Purple Heart and the Medal of Honor.
Disgusting.
That being said, there is a reason we are now in our 4th month of a war that I recall Trump said 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks tops.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that was 2 months ago. He's also laboring under the fantasy that by notifying Congress that Operation Epic Fury was over on the 40th day, which the Iranians, by the way, refer to that as the 40-day war, that according to the Geneva Convention, all conflict is stopped. And the only way you can look at that is sort of the same way that we are at ceasefire with North Korea. That has gone on for almost 70 years. But I mean, it's a bizarre way of looking at the world. But we are in a ceasefire only in the sense that we remain in a state of armed conflict. And we have agreed between the two combatant sides that we would pause combat operations for negotiations. According to the Geneva Convention, we're still at a state of war. And the fact that we are trading ballistic missiles and shooting anti-ship missiles and, gunning for each other and shooting down Apache helicopters, which Trump thought was some super secret project that he was getting away with escorting tankers out of the Strait of Hormuz. No, you called it like 2 months ago, Project Freedom. And you claimed that you ended it when the Saudis complained about it. So it was secret really for the Saudis, right? You're keeping it against the Saudis. But we knew that U.S. military forces for almost 2.5, 3 months were carrying out strike missions and hunting missions using Apaches flying out of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and were flying into the SOH and using their thermal imaging at night to hunt down high-speed small craft. There were 2 engagements. One where they tried to run 2 U.S. warships through, the Truxton and the Mason, I believe. And the Iranians engaged, and we sank 7 small boats, right? That was about 3 weeks ago. Then a couple of days later, we did this again. We sank 3 small boats. That is 10 high-speed, what we call fast inshore attack craft, FIAC, FIACs, right? High-speed boats in the entire war. And I'm not talking about when they bombed the Iranian Navy and sank ships at the pier. We sank no Iranian IRGC high-speed boats in the 40-day conflict of the war that was reported by anyone. But when the ceasefire came, all these boats came out of their tunnels, garages, warehouses, right? They're in civilian warehouses, taking fishing boats and putting high-speed engines on them. We had satellite imagery about 3 weeks ago of 150 boats
Wow.
underway off of Kishem Island. So these Apaches were out there doing this, what we call bowling for bog hammers back in the 80s. Were hunting for these high-speed boats, and then they learned a new lesson. There's a joke, a phrase that we used when I was in the Ukrainian army, and we would surprise the Russians with some new technology or something. There was a song where the guy's refrain was, "Welcome to Ukraine, suka," and it means, "Welcome to Ukraine, bitch." Well, yesterday, it was the Iranians shouting, "Welcome to Ukraine, bitch," because they were using a Ukrainian army tactic of using high-speed drones and hunting aircraft. And the Ukrainians have successfully shot down several helicopters. I made a mistake the other day. I said that they shot down an Su-25 Frogfoot strike aircraft. They missed it by meters, and it was just moving too fast before the explosion could damage it. The Ukrainians have shot down many helicopters, including the Russian equivalent of the Apache, right? The Ka-52 Alligator.
But let me ask you a question here, because they are still, as far as I'm concerned, they are still calling the state of affairs between the United States and Iran, they're calling it a ceasefire. How can you call it a ceasefire when there's so much live hostilities, like, the shooting down? There's, not only did they shoot down our Apache helicopter, we've already returned fire. And then earlier today, Donald Trump said he was, not only was he going to do some more bombing, but he's also indicated that he is going to attack their power plants and their bridges. So that doesn't sound like a ceasefire to me. What is it? Is it still a ceasefire?
Well, technically, it's still a ceasefire if both sides consider it that. Because once you've broken that ceasefire and say, hey, we no longer recognize a state of ceasefire, Iran could do that right now. If they say, hey, we no longer recognize that, we are back in full-scale active hostilities, they could just suddenly launch 500 ballistic missiles, right, all over the place. And we would be back on day one, right? We'd be on February 28th, 2.0. So, again, the Geneva Convention, which recognizes, by the way, when Trump says we're not in a war, no, you're in a state of armed conflict according to the laws of war. And that is called a war. And even if one side refuses to recognize that state of conflict, once the shooting starts, all conventions, chapters of the convention apply. Same thing goes with a ceasefire. Once you break it, if both sides recognize it's broken, then you go back into a state of armed hostilities. But a ceasefire is just an agreed upon pause, and usually to go bring in the dead, take out the wounded, let civilians evacuate through safe corridors, things like that. But, hey, if you're running an Apache helicopter in Iranian waters, because a little education here for people, the Strait of Hormuz is not in international waters. It is only at its narrowest point, 21 nautical miles across. Each nation, Oman to the south, has 12 nautical miles of national territory, and it laps over Iran's 12 nautical miles of territory. So at the 10.5 nautical mile mark, both nations are overlapped by 2 nautical miles. So when you run a ship through there, you are running it through Omani and Iranian waters. It's been considered international due to the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, which says that a heavily trafficked maritime area has the effect of operating in, with freedom of navigation for a international waterway. But guess what? 13 nautical miles, 1 meter past 12 nautical miles is international waters. It doesn't exist there. So
Now,
you are
I
running
haven't
into Iranian waters.
I haven't seen Iran up until now. I haven't seen
Mm.
them take the Strait of Hormuz the way they've taken it this time around. What reason would they have to relinquish control of the strait once this is all said and done? Why would they give that
Now,
up? Yeah,
now, no
yeah.
reason. Listen, in the worst period of the Iran-Iraq War and the U.S.-Iran wars in the 1980s, the SOH, that's what we call it, the Strait of Hormuz, the SOH has never been closed. Never. And I mean, everything was being thrown out there. Anti-ship missiles, missile and bomber attacks on Larak Island, Kashem Island. We were fighting them, sinking ships left, right, and center, bombing everything that moved, blew up virtually all of their functioning oil platforms in a single day. My ship blew up a platform, sank a ship, with 58 men on board, and shot down an aircraft in 2 hours. Just my ship.
Hmm.
So we were savaging things. And then the Iraqis were throwing everything at them for 10 years, right? Strait of
Yeah.
Hormuz never closed. Not because Iran didn't have the capacity to do it, but Iran understood they needed oil to continue moving to function in, the Iran-Iraq war, and they viewed it as a international passageway. But now they have a boatload more cards. They have thousands of sea mines that they could lay. They have hundreds, if not thousands upon thousands, of high-speed small boats and guys willing to man them. They have anti-ship missiles we have not really seen. Okay. I mean, I know that they have over 1,000 of these sea skimming Noor and Qadr class anti ship missiles, which are just Chinese versions of the Exocet missile that damaged, the USS Stark and killed 37 US sailors back in the 1980s.
Hmm.
They're very good missiles. They really haven't been launching them. They've been launching Shahed 136 drones, which are like little putt-putt motor aircraft. They know we can shoot them down. Aircraft can shoot them down. Helicopters can shoot them down. Kids riding bicycles with a shotgun can shoot them down if they have to. But really heavy anti-ship missiles, ballistic missiles, and I was just on Mario Nawafal's show on Twitter, and
Hmm.
there's the Israelis are reporting something got hit. I don't know if that's true. That's very, very bad if it's true, because that means we'll all be back at full scale. Everybody gets hit. Every power plant goes down. We will be committing war crimes of blowing up bridges and knocking down power plants tomorrow morning if a U.S. Navy ship has been hit in the last hour. Let's,
Let me.
inshallah, right? Let's hope not.
Yeah. So as far as the war crimes, right?
Hmm.
Is it a war crime to threaten to commit a war crime?
No, war crimes
No.
have to be demonstrated. I mean, there's a big
Well,
difference between
he's made
threatening
that threat.
genocide, right?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
say, I'm going to eliminate every person in your civilization, we're going to wipe out your civilization. Technically, Donald Trump committed a war crime, right?
Uh huh.
The threat usually is followed up. It's an implicit threat where
Yeah.
we have the capability, means motive opportunity. And that's one thing, right? Same thing with like Ben Gavir saying wipe out every Palestinian just recently, or was Israel Katz where he said they don't know it yet, but at the right place in the right time, we're going to get rid of every Palestinian in Gaza. Hey, bro, you just informed us you're planning for a war crime. Same thing with Donald Trump here. But by saying we're going to destroy every power plant, we're going to destroy every bridge, that could be seen as political rhetoric until we demonstrate it. And we knocked out in a small village next to Sirik, which is an IRGC. It's a small village of 20,000 people, but there's an IRGC underground tunnel base there. Hormuzgan uh, water treatment facility. They destroyed 2 water tanks for 20,000 people that processes all of their fresh water. And that is a war crime. And I
Mm.
don't know who on the strike planning board on the aircraft carrier wasn't a chief like me, because chiefs will tell you what we think, right? They were like,
Hmm.
yeah, let's blow up their water and starve them out. Whoa, slick. Yo, Admiral, that's a war crime, right? I just want to clear this up. before we go any further, start putting things on the strike board that you are saying you are ready and willing to commit a war crime because the maybe 200 guys in that tunnel, all right, they have canned and bottled water and maybe even a spring underneath, but you're saying you're going to kill through dehydration 20,000 civilians. Just clear that up for me so that I can say out loud at your board of inquiry that you decided to commit a war crime, even though your chief was giving you good advice.
Well,
No one's
Malcolm,
giving Trump that advice.
all of this stuff, right, is backed by Pete Hegseth, who I think Donald Trump specifically picked because he is a lightweight, because he doesn't know how to run the Pentagon the way it should be run. And he's also installed this new ethos where, bad is good, where, we're denying people the civil rights or human rights is just the business of doing war, and we're not the Defense Department anymore. We're the Department of War. We're all about war and tough and rah 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 rah. As a veteran yourself, how do you see this culture? Is this good for America, or is this weakening us?
Oh my God. If Vladimir Putin had become president of the United States himself and then appointed all of these characters, he could not have dismantled America's strength any faster than Donald Trump is doing it. And technically, Putin is not really a greedy guy, right? He is an ideologue. He has his money. He may secretly be one of the richest men in the world. He would do it because he's a former KGB officer. And ideologically, since he was 13 and went to a KGB open house and asked how he could become a KGB officer, not because it was the Soviet Union, because spying is cool shit, right? But going after your opponents and then getting global power. The best way for Russia to be a high-level power is to destroy America as a power. So that being said, Donald Trump as a proxy of Vladimir Putin understands what he's doing. He's working not in Moscow's interest, in his own personal interest. And that interest will destroy America as it is doing, right? He chose Hegseth. Let me tell you something. I'm going to quote, I don't have the non-cussing vocabulary to describe Pete Hegseth. I don't know if this is a family show.
Please. No, man.
I don't know if is this a family show or not, right?
No,
but
it is not.
Okay, good. But I'm going to quote General Stanley McChrystal about 2 months ago, where he said this about Pete Hegseth. And I just want to characterize this. Had this been said to me when I was in an official position in the United States government, if somebody had characterized me this way, I would not only have quit, and I would leave with my head down and understand that to regain my dignity, I couldn't even be a barista or an assistant manager at a Starbucks. I would have to be the floor mopping guy at a McDonald's in Las Vegas, right? A 24-hour McDonald's in Las Vegas to regain my dignity. Because here's what McChrystal said about Pete Hegseth. He said, I see a potential war criminal. Okay. By the way, Stanley McChrystal, head of all U.S. Special Operations, the Commandos Commando, right? Led Delta, led all these other, super soldier forces where respect from the other individuals is important. And another thing that he said, I see a potential war criminal. He said, but Pete Hegseth is merely a major who was kicked out of the D.C. National Guard and has his position solely by dint of his relationship with the President of the United States and no other reason. He is not qualified, and all I see is a potential war criminal. And when I heard that, I thought, oh my God, let me see if those McDonald's bathrooms really need to be cleaned in Vegas, because it is such a brutal, cutting thing. And Hegseth, the South Park caricature of him is much more accurate You
Yeah.
know, he's doing this
Yeah.
for content, right? Like, subscribe, click like, subscribe. And it's just like, I need, Mr. President, I need guns and planes and dudes. It's like, the fuck? Because as a senior enlisted, if I had been in the Pentagon at any time, right? We have this phrase in the Navy. If you're a chief, you wear anchors, right? I wore an anchor with a single star above it, which tells you that I'm second highest rank amongst the enlisted personnel. Our job is officer education and stupidity recalibration. And
Hmm.
when I see stupid, by God, I will come right out and say it. And this is the kind of guy you would look at him, right? And he would be like a guy, a junior officer on the bridge of a ship talking to himself, right?
Yeah.
About how many reps he did that day. And he's like, whoa, I could be a SEAL. And then he's steering the ship and he goes, look at those rocks over there. Wouldn't it be cool to hit those?
Ah,
Right?
yeah.
I would
You're
be the
right.
guy
Yeah.
on the bridge going, relieve him of command.
Yeah.
Relieve him right now. Get him off the bridge. Right? No. Apparently, there is no Chief Nance out there who would go, the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right? Are you shitting me? Kill civilians? Commit war crimes? That ain't fucking ethos. It ain't an ethos. You cannot use the word ethos, which is the basis of ethics, right? Our ethical ideology, right? It is
Hmm.
just fucking evil. And he is a dumbass, ideological, white supremacist, dumb fuck. And he's the reason we have senior enlisted who come up and go, whoa, whoa, slick. That's some dumbass shit you're about to do, right? Tell me it's a goddamn order so that I can resist it. So I can say, sorry, not carrying that dumbass order out. Right? So that's
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth. He's the guy, every goddamn sergeant major, every senior NCO from staff sergeant on up. He's the guy we're looking out for and watching to see if he does dumb shit. The
Mm.
problem is his chain of command's fucking Marco Rubio and Donald Trump. Two equally. I mean, Marco Rubio is a completely vapid turncoat who has no morals, no center of gravity, no belief in his own ethical self. That's
Yeah.
insane. And Donald Trump is evil incarnate, right? This guy only does it for himself. And his biggest thing is to put people in positions where they humiliate themselves so that he
Yeah.
can make fun of them. Hegseth is a joke. Every soldier, sailor, airman, marine, and guardian out there is going, we need guns and planes and dudes, right? Like, hope, subscribe. You know, just that's Pete Hegseth. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. God forbid, God forbid that retired Senior Chief Nance ever get within shouting distance of that guy,
Mm.
right?
What would you tell him if you
I'd be
could?
like, you dumb fuck, over here. And he'd be like, everybody look around. He's like, who's he talking to? You, Secretary of War. Get your stupid happy ass over here so I can fucking slap you. Right? Recalibrate your dumbass shit. Right? My dad joined the Navy at 15 in World
Wow.
War II. My family has had a Nance nonstop in the armed forces since 1864. Nonstop. I just found another goddamn Nance relative, right? Rufus Carroll. I don't know how he didn't have the Nance name. His mother was a Nance, right? She named him after her illegitimate daddy, right?
Wait,
So
wait,
it
wait,
was,
Malcolm.
and that's three of us in World War One.
I'm sorry. I got to stop because I know you said your time is tight, and I did
Yeah.
have two questions. I don't know if I have time, but let's
You have
see if
time.
we can abbreviate it. Right.
Mhm.
The one is about Netanyahu, which I alluded to in my intro, where you're familiar with that scenario where Trump was
Yeah.
claiming to be the big shot caller, and Netanyahu was like, "Oh, really? kaboom, and he started
Here's some
hitting
shots.
Lebanon. So actually, I want to know who, in your opinion, is actually determining the end of this war, because it clearly does not seem that Donald Trump is the one. It looks like he has to get sign-off approval from Netanyahu. Am I far
Who
off?
do you think? Who do you think is it?
I think
Who's
it's
calling the shots
Netanyahu.
here?
He's the one who dragged us into the war, isn't he?
Yeah, he dragged us into the war, but he's not calling the shots. Mujtaba al-Khamenei is calling the shots.
Oh,
I'm saying
what?
this. I'm saying this as an intelligence professional, right?
Interesting.
I look at
Why?
I look at our strengths. I look at their strengths. I look at the Israeli strengths, and I look at Iran's strengths. They've got us over the barrel. 7 ways to Sunday. He has all the goddamn cards right now, all of them. No,
What?
I'm serious. I'm serious. What are you talking about? What can we do as the United States other than drop bombs?
Yeah.
I mean, in Vietnam, we dropped 3 times the number of all bombs dropped in World War II, excluding the 2 atomic bombs. Is Vietnam a democratically elected government? No, it's still a communist government that runs on capitalism and makes Nikes. But we lost that war. Famous quote by a U.S. Army colonel meets a North Vietnamese colonel in the post-war and brags, "There was not one battle your army won where we stood up to them." And the North Vietnamese colonel goes, "That's irrelevant." Right? We won the war. That's where we are today. Iran can sit back. I say that they have what I take out my little coffee mug, which is always here. I say that they have another cup of tea strategy.
Damn.
What's Trump doing? Bombing the SOH. Let's have another cup of tea. What's he doing now? Bombing Tehran. Let's have a cup of tea. Right? Every day we move closer to global economic collapse. Iran has the United States in a chokehold through the oil pipeline. 20% of all oil, 35%, 1/3 of the world's fertilizer is not leaving the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump's like, whoa, we escorted 100 ships out since the start of the war. Yeah, the average volume would have been 10,000 ships. And half of those, like that Russian yacht, okay, you are not calling any shots. You are dropping bombs. We have used every weapon in the American inventory except one, the atomic bomb. Every weapon. There's nothing you can do to them, right? They got dates, they got kebabs, they got fried bread, they got coffee and tea all day. They got Allah. Okay, Ashura's coming up. The Shia pilgrimage period where everyone goes to. I've been in the shrine of Khalif Ali and the shrine of Hussein in Najaf and Karbala. I've prayed with the Shia Muslims, right? I've watched them, my bodyguards beat themselves senseless, right? In the ritual to feel the pain of the death of Ali and Hussein, and cut themselves and bleed all over the place. I got an education. This is who we're fighting. And so long as they have their belief in Allah, that Hussein, by the way, when he fought, was it the Battle of Karbala or the Battle of Qadisiyah? I can't remember. He had a magic sword, Zulfiqar, right? I have a Zulfiqar. It's got 2 points on the front, double-ended, double-tipped sword. They believe in this stuff. And what are you going to do? You're not cutting them off from going to the Husseiniya, to the mosque. You're not cutting them off from seeing their mom. You're just raising the prices of tea and dates. And by the way, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Russia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Iraq are doing trade on all of those roads. So yeah, you cut down some of their oil revenue, but that oil ain't disappearing out of the oil fields.
So
Trump is living in a fantasy land that he is affecting these people.
Are you saying that Iran has all the cards because essentially this has become like a war of attrition, like you said with Vietnam, like we had more to lose by staying than they had to lose by standing up and fighting back, like with little guerrilla warfare. right?
If our way of warfare was so great, why don't we go ask the democratically elected government of Afghanistan? Oh yeah, there is none. Right?
Yeah.
We beat every battle, we dropped every bomb. This war, we didn't even affect the populace. They hate us now. People who would
Mm,
have been marching in the streets in January just hate us because now you're hurting 93 million people at the
yeah.
gas station, but they still have God. And to them, that you're never taking that away. And that is not going to make them rise up and fight for the Israelis or the Americans, folks, but they will protect their own land. And he has no one telling him these things because he hates
No.
intelligence, right? Except,
Yeah.
Reza Pahlavi II, right? And he apparently hates him too.
Terrible. Last question, right? And
Mm,
it's kind of related, but it's a little off.
okay.
Bill Pulte. Bill Pulte is,
Jesus.
the acting DNI, Director of National Intelligence, for the foreseeable future. I think 210 or 220 days, something like that. And he's got zero intelligence background. From a spy hunter perspective, how dangerous is this level of amateur hour while we are at war with Iran and possibly, stand to risk of a terrorist attack?
First off, the Director of National Intelligence manages and oversees the activities of 19 intelligence agencies, including CIA, NSA, DIA, National Geospatial, Coast Guard, whatever, right? You are a manager. You have to manage a multi-hundred billion dollars of budget, right?
Mm,
NSA alone is like 75 billion every year to keep our computers secure and to crack enemy codes. That guy is going to spend his first 200 days reading little booklets that they're going to hand him. They're going to say, "Oh, Secretary Pulte or Director Pulte, while you're out dealing with Fannie Mae, okay, and checking people's mortgages, this is
yeah.
called a read-in manual. And what you have to do is you have to flip it open, and inside is a whole series of papers that will tell you what that secret program is. Once you're
Mm,
read into that program, you have to take a pen, you have to sign it. It says, I understand this. I will not divulge this. Yeah, there's about 30 fucking thousand of those. So if
oof.
I were the deputy director of national intelligence, who is a career CIA officer, I would say, hey, bro, yeah, we're going to bring you 30 of these read manuals per day because you have to be read into these programs in order to manage them. And I would just start wheelbarrowing in all of these documents. I've been read into dozens of programs. And here's the kicker: when you lose the job, you have to read out of them. You have to sign a document that says, I will never discuss these ever in my life on pain of death. I would keep that guy in so much paperwork to where he would just like, look, I'm going over Barack Obama's mortgage. You deputy director, you handle the spook stuff, right?
Well, I was I, I
Okay.
was I was laughing because you mentioned the deputy director of national intelligence, and I want to play a quick clip for you where Chris Coons was talking about that very same thing.
Oh, okay.
President Trump has right in front of him the solution to this problem. The Deputy Director of National Intelligence is a capable career intelligence professional. He should be the acting DNI. Bill Pulte is not a capable, qualified career professional in intelligence. He doesn't have a clearance. He's never worked in intelligence. He's supposedly still going to be running two very large mortgage agencies. It makes no sense for Trump to try and jam in an unqualified person to have oversight of 18 different intelligence agencies at exactly the moment when Trump's illegal war against Iran is heightening the risk of a terrorist attack on the United States. I will only support a short-term extension if a qualified intelligence professional is the acting DNI. Thank you.
Do you believe that's the case for all Senate Democrats?
You were
Okay.
spot on. Spot on.
Another thing. First off, Chris Coons is very nice. This is why I didn't run for Congress because I could not come to a press conference like that. Because here's how a Malcolm Nance press conference, who, by the way, statutorily, by law, I meet all the qualifications for Director of National Intelligence.
Oh, I was
So
going
you
to ask
guys,
you. Yeah.
next administration held a top secret SCI multiple special access program clearance for almost 3 decades, right? Career U.S. intelligence professional. All right. I couldn't handle the financial part, but I can handle all the rest of it. I'd get my deputy director. All he'd be doing is handling budgets, right?
Mm.
But if I were stepping out of a briefing and saying, hey, they nominated this guy, I would say, wait a minute. You're talking about the mortgage guy? Hey, mortgage guy, explain to me how we are going to reorganize the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Oh, and before you do that, tell me who they are, where their headquarters is, and what they do. Oh, you don't fucking know?
Mm.
Okay, okay. Well, maybe why don't you go draw their fucking mortgage contract up there on MacArthur Boulevard in Northwest Washington, D.C., and you get a better handle, for that particular agency, right? Jesus Christ, you're a dumbass, right? This guy, they do this song and dance, and I had this joke with Jennifer Welch from the I've Had It podcast, where I said, we need to create a consulting company for Democrats, right? In the military, when you're a senior NCO like mine, we get very serious about what you're talking about. You do this. It's called the blade hand, right? And the blade hand means you are one step away from being slapped. And so she said, we need to create a consulting company together, Malcolm, where we can teach Democrats to speak plainly, and we'll call it blade hand and bitch slap.
I like that.
I was like, good name, where we come into your office, right? And the first words we say is, can we speak to your communications director? And they go, yeah. It's like, yeah, tell me something. Yeah, give a press conference. And they go, oh, yes. What? Chris Coons will give a nice press conference like that. No, all of our press conferences will start with, the fuck? Right? The fuck are you talking about? What the F is wrong with you? Right? This guy is a unqualified freaking idiot whose sole function was to go into people's mortgages and try to convict them, refer to them as criminal referrals for people President Trump hated. You put him into national intelligence. Here's what's going to happen. No one's going to tell him shit. Every request that he has for secret files from, the X Files or some dumb place like that, we used to make up joke documents when I was at NSA on our computers, right? And they had all the classification markings in there for top secret code words, except that the top secret classification for a joke document was called top secret dog breath. and if you saw dog breath, you realized you were reading a parody. Right? And we would send it through the computer system. It got so popular that if you see, I would say, sir, Mr. Pulte's not even cleared top secret dog breath. How did I just remembered I left this out of my memoir. I'm in copy editing. I got to add that. But this is so stupid. The man is not qualified. The man is not qualified to be a gate guard at NSA or DIA or even the guy who issues out visitors badges because they're top secret SCI cleared. The firemen at the CIA have fire clearances. Did I mention the incredible cafeteria staff at NSA and CIA? Top secret SCI cleared. This guy, he's not even as qualified as the cleaning ladies in the janitorial staff at any intelligence agency, right?
It seems like this the Trump regime is set up for failure. Basically, every single cabinet position is unsuited, is unqualified for their position, like the guy from energy or transportation or education.
Yeah. They're designed to destroy things.
All those departments, though, I think we could survive. We could get by with, an unqualified buffoon helming that department. But something as critical, as crucial as national intelligence, I think you have to put your fucking serious pants on and say, let me get somebody who is the best at this to keep us safe. So with that guy in place, with that real estate clown in place, how much danger are we in?
Oh, reams of danger. Reams of danger. And here's why we are in reams of danger. Because unlike Tulsi Gabbard did have a clearance when she was making believe that she was a psychological warfare officer when she assigned herself down at Special Operations Command so she can go out and fucking, go on runs and do hot push-up sessions with Delta Force. But she really wasn't part of the U.S. Army Special Operations Command in qualification or in duty. All right. Hey, she played a great Cruella DeVille, but she was not qualified for anything. And then when she tried out her, Christy Nome cosplay commando going down to Georgia, she is statutorily out of her range of responsibility. She has nothing to do with criminality, law enforcement, bitch, unless it's a spy that you've identified, which your job is to turn it over to the FBI counterintelligence division. All right. All you can do is sit around and read back issues of Guru Monthly or whatever it is that she does as a cult member. Thankfully, she's been put out now, but I'm sure she's going to some other, good for nothing, phony baloney job. But this guy, Pulte, this is a loyalty picket. Trump's like, go down into NSA and see if you can pull up those documents. And he'll be like, NSA, let me tell you, the most ethical organization, fuck Edward Snowden. NSA is the most ethical organization we have. There's things they won't do. And there's a million ways that they won't do it. Right? You tell them, I want all the phone records for Malcolm Nance. And they'll be like, Malcolm Nance? Malcolm Nance used to be in G Group. Fuck that shit, right? And they'll be giving them 1-800, 1-866 numbers. Every number that called Malcolm Nance, they'll send that shit to him, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, there's 40,000 entries here, but you have to go through the audio tapes yourself because that's classified. Or they'll be getting big, giant fucking binders of top secret dog breath. Oh my God, did you read this about the aliens at Area 51? They use burner phones. Oh my God. Those guys, there are people at NSA right now who are thinking up shit to do to him. And I don't mean the deputy director or the director. They won't know, but they'll look at what they're like, okay, well, here's the wheelbarrows. No, but like top secret dog breath. I've never been read into that program. No, you haven't. Dog breath is for motherfuckers that are in the know. Okay.
Well,
you got to be really cleared for that.
What you just described actually sounds like some kind of safety, like some kind of safety buffer from those people at NSA. No.
Yeah, we should erase this section of the show so I could infiltrate that into the atmosphere and claim that I have access to top secret dog breath material. And like I said, I just finished a 177,000 word memoir, which they cut down to 110,000. And I completely forgot to mention my top secret dog breath jokes. And I think I have some. I think I have some of the printouts. And they're freaking hilarious, right? But because when you're reading them, you're like, oh my God, this is serious stuff, and it's like, yeah, the aliens are using burner phones and they still use the aliens in Area 51 have adapted the old brick phones from the 1980s and they operate at such a low frequency band that's so old that our technology can't pick it up. So the aliens are actually using old technology for advanced technology. By tomorrow morning, this shit is going to be all over Reddit. And people at the fort are falling on their ass laughing. Other guys are like, oh my God, old guys. You ever see the movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith?
Of course. Yeah.
About
and
NSA.
Gene Hackman. Yeah.
Gene Hackman. That Gene Hackman character, that guy was real. I've met him. Okay. There were guys, what we called them, the old techs back at NSA. I had an old tech back there. I had a guy who met T.E. Lawrence before he died in 1937. He was an 80-year-old guy. He's we used to work with Friedman. I think it was my first year. The guy was like retiring. and he was ancient. He was like 80 some odd years old, which means he was born in 1900, right?
Mm.
And T.E. Lawrence died in 37. This guy was going to Oxford. I was like, how am I meeting these walking history books on the street here? And these guys, I mean, and you meet these periods of history, but then you have traitorous rat bastards like Edward Snowden, who's like, I'm joining CIA and NSA to out their programs. And it's like, okay, you know what? I think Pulte's the kind of guy who would be bringing Snowden in as a senior advisor, right?
Wow.
They give him immunity and they'd bring him back to the United States. I should not be giving Donald Trump these ideas, but I'm just saying. In the end, 99.9% of the U.S. intelligence community is going to be screwing with him, left, right, center, up, down. They'll be like, "Oh yeah. You want those documents that we have on the Russian Vernona program, and you want the list of real names of CIA assets." They'll be getting list of names that says this is his dossier, right? Yusuf Blosky, right? And he'd be like, wow, use Joe Blow, So, yeah. Next thing you know, we have this thing called the blue dye test where we release false information to people that are suspected as traitors. And if it comes up in Moscow, we know who leaked it. And that guy is definitely going to fail the blue dye test because he'll be out bragging shit. Do you know what NSA does? They have this program called dog breath. He'll fail.
Well, Malcolm, I absolutely hope you're right because the safety of our nation depends on it. And folks, this has been an episode of Malcolm Nance Unplugged, and where he's been spilling all the tea, all of it, and it's really fascinating. And you're going to catch some more content like this, even better, actually, on his Substack, where he is the Black Man Spy. It is a fantastic show. It's him. I can't remember the two other brothers that are on the show with you.
Every morning at 9 a.m., we do a 1 hour intelligence briefing. Jacob Karsbo is a Danish intelligence officer and a Middle East expert. And Waja, the gay lion, is a Saudi with the fez. I have fezes too. He just wears them all the time. Waja, the gay lion, is from Minneapolis. He's a Saudi. And he is a Gulf states geopolitical expert. He's not an intelligence asset at all. But we do a 3-way roundtable every morning. We have an enormous amount of fun. So come to Substack. They just did a recalibration of the algorithm. So I dropped like 3,000 people in a couple of weeks. I need to reach 100,000 people. So just come to malcolmnance.substack.com. Just subscribe. And then when you start watching the show, you'll see that we have an enormous amount of fun. We really, we teach the entire history of Shia and Sunni Islam like twice a week, right? We're quoting surahs at each other. There's whole Arabic lessons we teach on there. And we also try to get you to understand that stupidity is not a strength.
That sounds like a ball. And folks, make sure you subscribe there, and also subscribe to Malcolm's YouTube channel. He also has a YouTube channel, Black Man Spy. So hit him in both spots. You can also find him on Twitter at Malcolm Nance. Malcolm, thank you so much for joining me. If you wouldn't mind, just hang tight for me for 1 minute while I say good night to my peeps.
Sure.
Here. Thank you, sir. And folks, thank you so much for joining me for another fun episode of an informative episode of the Defiant Weekly. I'm your host, Majid Padelan, a.k.a. BDD, a.k.a. Brooklyn Dad Defiant. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys here, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes.